and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you, and this is the one that I talked about last week that took me about 8 hours on stream, which is kind of insane, but be sure to follow me over on Twitch to make sure you don't miss out on any live streams. The link is down below if you want to come check it out. We basically just hang out and build and chat the whole time, and it's a whole lot of fun. But that day I actually didn't know what to build, so I opened up my handy dandy idea notebook and decided that I wanted to build a lighthouse because that was something was in there I've been wanting to do, and I think I've been procrastinating because I wanted it to be on top of this like gorgeous hilled area, so lots of terrain with these like cascading staircases. And honestly, I've really never built with the terrain manipulation in this game, and so I actually watched a tutorial by Kate Emerald a while ago. I would highly recommend watching it. Honestly, I think it had a lot of good information and really helped me out when I was trying to do this. By no means was I perfect at it, just to be clear. You can tell that it just kind of appeared because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is kind of a nightmare. Like, oh my gosh. And so I paused it while I was streaming just so I could figure out the terrain paint, and then started my recording again when I had it done, because it was just trial and error. It was a mess, like me trying to figure it out. But I highly recommend that tutorial if you would like to check it out. And you saw at the beginning too that I started with using rounded walls, which I wanted to. I wanted the lighthouse to be round, but then I came into this issue where I really wanted it to have this cool balcony with this fencing. It didn't want to put fencing. Like, it refused. It did not want to let me put those balcony fences on my lighthouse, and I tried so many different things. Like, again, I paused like the recording and I tried so much because I really wanted it to be rounded, but it just didn't want it to work. So I ended up changing it to this like polygon shape, and I actually don't even remember what kind of shape I used. But anyways, I ended up just drawing my own, and I think that worked out really well. And then I did a lot of like play testing to figure out if my sim could actually go up to the build. So I did bring a sim to the lot to make sure they could get to the home so that I didn't have any issues, because like I said, I've never done this before, so I just really wanted to make sure it worked. And it was so funny actually when I was playtesting it with a sim, like while I was on stream, this sim just kept walking up the hill. Like, they just ignored the stairs, and because they were on the right side of the lot, so they just didn't feel like, I guess, walking around to the left side to get to the stairs. So that was a whole thing, and it was so funny to me. I kept making that hill like steeper, and this sim just kept walking right up the hill, and I was like, clearly this sim did not skip leg day, because if he can make it up this hill, then like, I mean, just, you know, kudos to him. So anyways, you can see me messing around a lot with the colors, what windows I wanted to use, and I'm actually in Brindleton Bay right now on this lot, and it's so funny because you can see like 2 different lighthouses in the background, which I thought was just so funny to me. But anyways, I like my lighthouse better, but maybe that's just because I'm biased because I built it. But doing the like all of the vegetation around here was, it definitely took a minute and a lot of like trial and error and trying to figure out what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to put in some rocks, like it was this rocky hillside that this like lighthouse had been built on top of, but then filled up with a lot of different vegetation. And so you can see I've actually found these, I believe this was in debug. Yeah, this was in debug, a large piece of rock that I basically used to help kind of outline the different tiers of the terrain here, because I wanted it to kind of look like it had like a tiered look to it. So all the landscaping was like in different levels so you could really see it all. And then of course ended up having to troubleshoot how to actually put a bunch of vegetation on the side of a hill. Like it was a whole thing. Like, we talked about it a lot in chat, but honestly, I think it came out so well. You see I'm flattening out some more pieces, so it's a little bit easier to actually place some of those like bushes and trees and stuff that I end up putting here, because obviously if the terrain is flat, it makes it a whole lot easier. So that would be a tip I'd have if this is not something that you regularly do, but you want to try, then making sure you have some places of like flat land to put all of those different bushes and things that you want to use. Like, I don't even know how many like different plants I used. Like, it's a little bit insane. Like, it took a long time. And I will say, I said I streamed for 8 hours, and I did. I was live for 8 hours, and I was not planning on that, but I was so into this build, and I was like, I want to finish this build so bad that I ended up just streaming for 8 hours. And like I mentioned, so Twitch does record my videos, so those are up for like a week. So if you ever miss one, you can always check them out online. But I also record separately for my speed builds. So what you're seeing is not necessarily what's on Twitch. Like on Twitch, I have my face cam and all of that kind of good stuff. Alerts, like all those fun, like streaming things. But this is just a recording of like my desktop, so just of the game. And so I can pause it as I'm playing, so I can try to like mitigate all of the extra stuff in there so that you don't actually have to see as much of the struggle that's there. But my whole point in going through that was the fact that what I actually had recorded was 4 hours. So I recorded 4 hours for my speed build, but I was live for 8, just to give you an idea of how much time I spent either talking to people, hanging out with people, or also just troubleshooting and figuring things out. Because I guess I don't want you to think that this is like super easy and that it really looks like this easy when you do it, because it's definitely not the case. It really does take me a long time, and I feel like, and I only say that because like me watching other speed builds, I'm like, how do they do this? Like, this is like insane. Like, this would take me 10 years. And I just want you to know that it really does take me a while to do. But I enjoyed it so much. Honestly, I feel like putting in all these bushes and everything is like almost like a form of like meditation for me. It's like hand placing sprinkles on a cake is basically the same thing to me. Just like really creatively being able to place all these things. It's just like, it's kind of nice. And you can see that I pulled out a bunch of different plants over there on the left. And so that was a combination of debug and like regular items in the game. So basically I went in, I pulled out everything that I thought I might want to use on the slope here. And then, so that way it was there. And because I have the mod Better Build By, I can duplicate debug, which is not something you can usually do. So even if I pulled something out of debug, I could easily duplicate it from over there. So basically it was just my way of collecting the things I thought I might want to use, and then, so I could pick at them and decide exactly what I wanted and try different things. And then don't worry, the tree does go back. I just had to move it because it kept getting in the way when I was trying to place all of the bushes and everything. I was like, this thing has to go because I can't see what I'm doing, and we'll place it back. And you can see here too, like me editing the terrain and just trying to get it to fit. I really tried not to have like any floating bushes. Of course, I'm sure there are some, but I tried to cover them up with other bushes so you can't tell. So I did my best. I think it looks pretty good. Like, I don't think there's a lot of really obvious like floating vegetation around, but I really was so in love with the way this came out. Like, I am so happy I decided to build it that day. And all of the stones that I used going up the stairs, those are from Debug, and they're like, I think they're called like flat garden rocks. And for the life of me, I cannot remember what pack they're from, but highly recommend because they are really lovely to use as like stepping stones. And I also, so I had the different tiers here, but you can also see me adding some smaller rocks around to help fill in some of that space, because I'm not going to lie, the rocks were easier to place than a lot of the bushes and flowers and stuff. And I did stick to this, what I felt like was kind of a classic like Lighthouse red and white situation, which is why I altered it. And also actually up at the top, I ended up using the light that I had sized it up. I think it was the one that came with the wedding pack. And I think it looks pretty cool up there. I did try to use the like get famous like spotlight thing that moves around because I thought that'd be really cool. But in testing it, it just didn't really light up, and you couldn't really tell that it was like moving around. So that was a little bit disappointing, but we just swapped it out for that other one that came with the wedding pack. And I think it like kind of looks on its own, looks just like a giant light. So I think that works out really well. And your Sims will have access to all levels outside, so you don't have to worry about that. Actually, when I went to do the inside, I forgot that I needed to figure out how to access, I think it might have been like the 3rd floor or something. I was like, oh my gosh. Y'all, I didn't put in a staircase or a ladder or anything, but don't worry, I fixed it. It works out. And at this point, I've actually not taken the screenshots. I'm not gonna lie, I've been procrastinating, I can't talk today, on taking the screenshots just because it's such a large build. And I feel like every time I have a large build, it's not as bad as I feel like it's going to be to actually take all of the screenshots for it, but at this point I haven't done it because I'm procrastinating and would rather do the voiceover for it. But when it is up on the Sims 4 gallery, it will be completely functional, and I will have changed anything that needs to be changed so that your Sims can access everything. So in case things look just a little bit different, just know that I changed it because it needed to be changed. And I'm hoping too, when you download it, it doesn't delete a bunch of stuff. That would be my hope. And I didn't use a whole lot of terrain paint actually, because I know that it likes to delete it, at least for me. And I ended up putting over here like this nice driveway, and because I didn't want it to like abruptly end, I wanted it to look kind of natural, like the driveway kind of like really fit in with this. And so I kind of gave it this odd looking shape. We actually had a lot of debate about what cars to use. So I wanted to put a car here, but I was like, okay, what color car, what kind of car? Like that's some of the stuff you get on stream. Like we have to decide what to use. And it was so funny actually, when I was doing this rock, to me, it looked like a frog. I was literally placing all of these rocks and I was like, this looks like a frog. Luckily somebody on like stream did agree with me, so I didn't feel completely crazy, but the rock just does. It looks like a frog. And I don't know if it's because I've been staring at these rocks for so long, but it felt like that's what it looked like. And so just adding in some more rocks around this lovely pond area. And we do actually end up putting in a really cool like pergola sitting area over by that big tree, because I was like, what am I going to put over there? And I wanted something out there that was like functional for your Sims, like to go hang out in. And that came out actually really nicely. I did try something new with it in terms of like curtains. I did recently on my A-frame renovation, which if you haven't seen that, be sure to check it out. It has an amazing backyard. And the pergola I used, I put like curtains on it and it came out really nicely. And so I kind of did a variation of that when I did this. Except I used the curtains, actually like the canopy curtains that came with the high school pack. And I think my neighbor just started sawing or something outside really right now while I'm trying to do a voiceover. So I apologize if you can hear that, which you probably can. Oh my gosh. I say that, it's the middle of the day. Like they can be doing whatever they want to, but like I think they're doing some sort of insane carpentry right now. Like, what is going on? Like, oh my gosh. Anyways, I'm hoping it's not too terrible and it doesn't ruin my whole voiceover. But you can see here I've created this nice seating space. And I tried to use those lights that came with, I think it was like the little campers kit or whatever it was called, but they didn't match up right. It made me crazy. Like I tried for so long, but it just wouldn't work. So I took those out and we changed stuff around. Honestly, I feel like this pergola kind of looks like this really cool, swanky nightclub thing going on. And I think it looks really neat. So I was like, you know what, let's just do a pergola. I think that'll make it look a whole lot better. And so you can see me like, doing all the things. I ended up having to draw those walls so I can actually see like the ceiling, because I was having a hard time, I think because of the build, like the way it was set up, trying to put the ceiling on it, it didn't like it, so I had to draw the wall so it like placed a ceiling itself. And then I ended up like having to replace all of the columns, because when I drew the walls, it twisted all of the columns, and I don't know why I did that, and I couldn't get them to go back. Anyways, that was a long story on how I built this pergola, but you can see here that I'm using the canopy from the high school pack, and it looks so neat inside. I'm so excited. Actually, I'm very excited to take screenshots of this area. It just looks like this really romantic spot to hang out in, and we put like a light in there so it'll be nice and well lit, and it'll look really nice, I think. And so adding in here just some terrain paint. I mean, I put some terrain paint under all that vegetation, but like honestly, I don't know if that was even worth it, because I don't even know if you'll really be able to see it. But then I actually used the terrain paint with all the little like white flowers, because I thought that just looked really nice and added a little something around this lighthouse here. And then you could see on the back of the build there is a ladder already that goes from the second balcony up to the third. And I did that because like there was no way I was going to fit stairs to be able to do that. And so at this point we've kind of moved inside, and I did build this for a family of like 3 or 4. So we have like a parent bedroom and then a kid's bedroom with 2 beds. Oh my gosh, why am I already forgetting what I did? I did build this like 2 weeks ago, so I'm trying to like get to a memory here. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I did like 1 kid's room and a parent's room. And then I think we have 2 bathrooms upstairs, and we have a half bath downstairs. And I wanted to bring in a lot of the red elements inside, but I didn't want it to be too overwhelming. And I didn't know what else to bring in because I really just used a lot of red and white outside. But I actually ended up, shocker, I found this rug and I was like, this is the rug that's going to inspire the interior of this home. Like, that happens so often, but honestly, I feel like it's a great way to get some inspiration. And I just love the way that looks. And it's like slightly faded, and it just looks really lovely. And then I found those cabinets that are yellow and they have like a blue curtain on them, so I thought that was really nice. And then using that really nice tile here that has like the blue, red, and yellow, so I guess I went very primary color in here and kind of mixed in a lot of different colors. And this is definitely, it took me a little while to figure out this kitchen layout, but I think it looks kind of neat though, like the way it's set up. It's actually a really large kitchen and lots of space for everything. I do end up putting like a little like bench, not a bench, but a table next to the door for them to put things. And I think that's like a very nice realistic touch, honestly. And I believe I do end up keeping, I can't remember if I end up actually keeping that table. I think I do. I just can't remember if I ended up swapping it out, but I thought that just looked really cool. Like it was an extension of that kitchen space. And this does actually end up being quite a spacious home, lots of room. And of course, if you want to download this off of Sims 4 Gallery, you can find it under my ID, Spice and Sprinkles, all one word, all lowercase, and it is written down in the description if you want to see it. And of course, if you download this, you can gut it, change it, do whatever you want to it. Just use it for the terrain manipulation. Totally up to you, but it is there if you would like to download it. And I ended up putting this gorgeous painting in here. I really do love that picture so much. It has so many beautiful swatches. And to me, it just looked like a beautiful family, like portrait. And so I put that by the front door, and it had all of the really nice colors that went into this home. And I tried to use it again, but I think the colors were just kind of off. And of course, the way I built this with this staircase, it posed quite a challenge for me actually doing the living room here and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and then trying to figure out what rug I wanted to use. You can see that I'm pulling out, it feels like all of the rugs in the game, trying to figure out exactly what I wanted and how I wanted this set up. So I do end up actually deleting that wall you could see there because I just needed more space to figure this out, because I wanted this nice seating area to be centered on that wall. And then we have that really nice large fireplace on the side there, and we have like 2 chairs. I think I swapped those chairs out though. And again, just trying to figure out the color scheme here was a little bit difficult, like finding things that I felt like kind of matched together and had the same theme. So it definitely took a little while, and I took a lot of feedback, from my chat, like, does this look right? Does this look weird? Do we need to add something? Do we change something? You know what I mean? So if you ever want to just like talk about building or help me out, be sure to stop by my streams. We'd love to have you. And yeah, I ended up, I honestly thought upstairs I would end up putting an office, but I actually kind of snuck it over here in the corner. So your Sims do have this lovely office space. So you do have a computer, bookcase, all of that kind of good stuff. And like, I try to push that bookcase into the wall to make sure your Sim can get around. Like I said, when I take screenshots, I'll test it and make sure it all works. If it doesn't, I'll fix it. And I think it actually looks really nice here. And it's really nice, like cozy space. Like you go over here if you need to work on something. I don't know what the Sims in this household do. Sometimes I like to think about that and base that on like how I decorate the home and outfit the home depending on their job. But honestly, I didn't have a particular one in mind, but there's a lot of skill building stuff in this home as well. So you should have a lot of options for your Sims. And of course you can swap things out and add things if it better suits your Sims. And then I ended up using the space under the stairs as this lovely built-in, like I figured, with 2 kids, like a full family, like you're going to need space for backpacks, jackets, like just all the things I feel like you would have. And so I used that as a nice built-in space, and I think that worked out really well, and I do like the way that actually ends up looking. And we actually do end up deciding that the family should have a dog, and I did use like so I decided that I was going to have like a large dog, and it was at this point I think because I found the dog figurine and I was like, they should have a dog. That's all it took, and I was like, oh, we have to have this. And so I ended up adding in, I think I used like a big dog bed underneath the stairs. But then Later on, we decide that we should use the egg bed. So that's the small one. If you don't know, one of the swatches in the like pet beds, it looks like an egg. So we do swap it out, and all because upstairs in the kids' bedroom, we end up, I think it's using the toast and egg swatch of a rug. I can't remember if it was just the egg or the bread and the egg, but anyways, so we decided, oh, we have to change the dog bed to to the egg as well. Like maybe the kids picked it out. So just lovely storytelling, of course, and you can change it if you don't want to have a pet, if you don't have pets. But obviously, I think a lot of the stuff in here may be from that pack, so you may lose some items. And of course, if you don't have all the packs necessary for this build, you can still download it. It'll just delete out the things you don't have, so then you can replace them back with items that you do have. So that is also an option, so you can still download it and not have that issue. And then just finally cluttering up this kitchen. I felt like I focused a lot on figuring out the floor plan before I ended up actually doing a bunch of decorating, because I didn't feel like doing all the decorating and then having to like change it because it just didn't work out quite right. And so I just feel like this is a really nice and warm and cozy space for a family. And I tried to use the area over by the fridge as like a coffee bar kind of thing. So putting the mugs over there. I think I put a coffee machine over there as well. And I think I also put some of the mugs from the new clutter kit. And now I'm trying to remember if that had come out yet. I think it had. I guess we're going to find out, like, whether or not I put it. I guess I didn't, so maybe we actually didn't have that kit yet. Like I said, this was about 2 weeks ago. I cannot remember, like, what we had at this point. And I feel like because of the holiday week that we just had, at least in the US, like, a lot of my memory is not there from this build. But we have this lovely landing space here. And so this is the point. I was supposed to have put in a staircase or a ladder or something in order to get to the next floor. But I didn't think about it until I was done completely furnishing this whole floor and then tried to furnish the next one. And I was like, oh no, your Sims can't get there. And it was so funny because when I was building, I was like, y'all, don't let me forget. I need to put in a ladder or stairs or something. And I think we all forgot. So then I had to like figure out how to make this work. But I actually ended up putting the ladder in the parents' bedroom, thinking we decided that it is the parent space. It is like somewhere for them to get away from their kids, and a space for them to go and relax. But obviously, like anybody in the house can go to it, but it was just a funny thought we had when I had to decide that it was just over, in their bedroom. And then I'm not gonna lie, I cheated a little bit. I did block off that corner there because it was just causing me way too many issues, like trying to figure out that floor plan. I spent so much time on that, so I just like blocked it off because I was like, this just isn't working. So I was thinking this is like the kids' bedroom, and because I wanted there to be a dog in this house, we have to have a bathtub so that you can wash the dog. Of course, if you don't have a dog or you don't have toddlers, you can just swap it out for a regular shower to make that a little more roomy in there. And again, I'll be playtesting it to make sure it works. Fingers crossed it does, because I don't know what I'm going to do if it doesn't. But again, if that is a room that looks a little bit different, it's because it had to be changed. And then, so here in the parents' bedroom, I believe I ended up actually just adding in a shower in this space, like to give it a little more room. And so I like the way this bathroom turned out a little bit more than the other one. And I think it's just because I had a little more like room, so options to do stuff in here. And I did like cut off that corner as well, because honestly, it looked really weird. It was hard for me to use, so I just decided to get rid of it. But anyways, in this kid's bedroom, so I think I ended up using a bunk bed, yes, in here, and I ended up using that lovely orange, blue, and yellow wallpaper, which I felt like kind of matched the color scheme of the home. And yeah, so we used the bread and egg rug in there, and we were like, oh, we have to use a different dog bed because like we just feel like that would be so appropriate. So we ended up swapping that out, and I ended up using that lovely dresser, and I love it so much because it has like that extra detail of having pictures and stuff in it, and I'm thinking, that's them and their friends or each other or the family. And then honestly, even though I felt like this when I started was a small room, we actually pack a lot of stuff in here, so your Sims will definitely have stuff to do. So we have like toys, their mirror, and then we have a little stuffed dog over in the corner, and then adding that nice string of like photos and lights on the wall. I figured between the two kids, they have a lot of photos and things like that. Who knows, maybe one of them is into photography or something. I actually don't even know, can a kid even do photography? I don't know, maybe that's something they're into and they do it when they're a teen. But anyway, so adding in, again, that night light that helps like keep the monsters away so that your kids don't wake up in the middle of the night and go and wake up the parents and the rest of the household, because that's just annoying. And, oh, I just placed that hat. So we did have the clutter kit. Did I not actually put down those mugs? I cannot believe I didn't do that. All right, well, anyways, if you want to, you can add it. But I ended up using this really fun wallpaper in here, and then I did struggle a little bit with what bed I wanted to use. But I did figure it out, and I think it comes out really nicely in here. You can see I'm pulling out like just a bunch of beds, like trying to figure out which one I like and how to pull in some of the colors we ended up using, what rug to use. I mean, honestly, like I feel like this may have been one of the harder rooms to deal with, and I think I did actually end up reusing that rug. I try not to reuse rugs in my builds. I don't know, just because I guess that's a thing that I do. But I just like loved that rug so much, and I felt like it helped bring in that red without it being like really red, if that makes sense, and having that nice soft tone to it. So we put in a nice dresser here, that lovely like kind of canopy bed. Is that a canopy bed? I guess really it's more like a 4-poster bed, but anyways, and so just putting in a little bit of clutter around here. And then, like I said, we do end up actually coming back and adding in the ladder to the next floor when I realized we needed it, because I was like, oh no, where am I supposed to put this? And so you can see here, I'm like, oh, okay, wait, like we have a problem. And like, so I wanted to put it right there, but then that was in the way of the door upstairs and I didn't want to move that door. So anyways, it was like, yeah, it was just a whole thing. So anyways, we ended up putting it in the parents' bedroom and then just making this a nice like hangout space. I feel like it's just a nice cozy area for the parents to come hang out. I mean, of course the kids can come up here too, but I just felt like maybe it's like their own personal space. And then just adding in a little furnace. And then I really love that like coffee table I use. It pulls in a lot of those colors that we've been using. And then, yeah, having another TV up here. I also put a stereo up here. So again, lots of stuff for your Sims to do. I put a lot of skill building stuff actually out on the balconies. We end up putting, I believe, a chess table and an easel. So your Sims can work on your logic and creative skills. So again, lots of stuff to do. And then I figured since we were going to put an easel out there that maybe one of the Sims is really just into art. Who knows, maybe that is what they do, or maybe it's just a hobby. But I thought just putting some of those paintings in there would be really nice. And then just kind of adding a few things in here. I ended up, I think, putting a bench out there as well. I tried not to clutter it up too much, just because I didn't want it to affect the way the build looked, if that makes sense, because there wasn't a whole lot of space. Like the second balcony, it's got like a 1 tile space for you to walk around. But anyways, so just adding in a few finishing touches, and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoy it. And I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.